Ladies and gentlemen, and all genders outside and in between, this world is a world of darkness, and there may be some subjects that are quite triggering.
In Greek mythology, Elysium is the Hall of Heroes, an undeath separate from the rigmarole of Hades that allows those few heroes who truly overcame terrible odds and outrageous challenge to live that undeath in glorious splendor and luxury. In many ways, the Camarilla like to believe that this is true of their Elysium too. A room full of the worthy, free to exist in exactly the manner they choose for just that night, in just that room. And in both cases, your place must be earned. Theseus entered the labyrinth as a mere mortal, armed only with a string, a sword, and a promise that he would only leave once the threat to his people had been slain. The true heroism of his act, then, was not realized with that fearsome stroke of a sword against an overwhelming enemy, but instead, when that battered and bruised warrior led his allies back to a home that he had made safer for them. The labyrinthine streets of Birmingham are slick with rain, the low drizzle tickling the windows of Demeter's office, and the cloud-filled night sky offering that jasmine-scented room a unique closeness that most kindred have come to find comfort in. But this space is not comfortable. Demeter's eyes are focused on the rage-filled face of CT for just a moment before her eyes flick upwards to look at the door. A series of footsteps in the hall outside of this office had gone unnoticed amidst the rage and confusion, and as the door creaks open, Demeter's discomfort seems to increase in the split second before she conceals it. Romy enters the circular office and removes her high-collared leather jacket, which drips the mist of a soft rainfall onto the carpet for just a moment before she hangs it on the hook near the door. She runs a hand through her wet hair and shakes it out as she looks across the group. She holds her position, standing with her arms crossed and examining the coterie before her. I didn't expect you back in one piece once I realized what I'd sent you to do. Tell me about it.
Sure you didn't. I'm sure you didn't.
Once you realized, huh?
Well, I hadn't quite expected that our CT here would dive out of a window and rush headlong into trouble with no consideration for what might have been waiting for him, so no, I didn't realize until after.
Well, maybe if our wonderful friend Dee here had told us what was going on, then I wouldn't have done such a thing, because I would have been able to prepare in advance, you know?
Tell you what was going on?
Oh, yeah. Because she had premonitions, but didn't decide to tell anybody about these premonitions, despite the fact they had something specifically to do with me.
And what exactly is that, CT?
Well, she foresaw that somebody that I cared about was gonna get hurt. Do you remember me running off in blind panic, trying desperately to get to a house that I knew was gonna be a trap? Despite how careful I've always been, despite how I am so very, very careful. Because somebody I knew was in danger. This delightful individual was very aware that somebody I knew was in danger. Did she give a shit? Of course she fucking didn't.
Why keep secrets from us?
Demeter shifts a little uncomfortably and reaching out with her free hand to pick back up the teacup that she placed down, grimaces and quietly reiterates, "Once fate has made its motions, it's rather hard to stop. I didn't want you going into something you wouldn't be able to prevent."
Wouldn't be able to prevent? Do you know what that House of Horrors was like? Maybe you did. Maybe you foresaw all of that as well. Maybe you knew exactly what we were going in for, and you just didn't care. But maybe it was, what do you call it, fate?
Charles,
At least if you'd have told us, we'd have had a chance.
Charles, I understand your frustration, but you still haven't answered my first question. House of Horrors, what do you mean?
Oh. Allow me to regale you with the tale, my dear Romy. So, we turned up at this house. Turns out there was wards all over the place, wraiths all over the place, and a series of mysteries, like the bloody crystal maze. That was all to do with us. Each one of us had a tiny little mystery to go on. Little tidbits of our history. Little tidbits of stuff to do with the professor. Oh, and your Coterie. We can't forget about that. Yeah, the old days of your Coterie. And it was all led down to this wonderful scenario where my friend, led injured, caused me to have a bit of a ruckus, which is why I changed my shirt. And guess what, friend? Guess what? It was all to do with a guy with glowing green eyes. Ring any bells, Romy? Ring any bells?
Liam has been paying attention to all of us, not just in the past year, but years. I mean, when I first came to Birmingham, he knew about all of that. Every little mistake I'd done, that was all there. It was all planted. He's toying with us because of you, both of you, your whole coterie. The least you could have done is a bit of a warning. I get we may not deserve that or whatever, but you threw us there, knowing bits of it. We could have used some of it. Em had to go through all of that by herself.
I didn't know who you were going up against. I didn't realize he was still around. I didn't realize that the history of this coterie had anything to do with your future.
Still around? What would make you think that he wouldn't be around? Had you guys done something to ensure that?
Romy gives a small, impatient sigh and crosses the room again to sit at the front of Dimitar's desk. Finn, I understand you may be new to the Camarilla, but perhaps I need to reiterate that we don't like leaving loose ends loose, nor do we like leaving our stories untold, unfinished. Nor do we like to hear that they come back to retell themselves decades later. Yes, we did what we could to make sure he wouldn't return, and it appears that hasn't worked. Now, as it happens, Saoirse's death has left the course exceptionally uneasy, and that is without the mention of Liam. The prince is keen to inaugurate your coterie now, with the purpose of investigating and avenging her death as your official raison d'etre. To placate the Tremere.
Feels sloppy, Romy.
Sloppy,
Doesn't it?
how so?
It's not like you to leave loose ends, especially aggressive.
No, indeed, so that's why
Green-eyed
you will
loose
understand that I intend not to leave this loose end standing any further. He was given strict instructions to leave the city and methods by which to do it, and he chose not to. He has had his chance. He has not complied with it. That being the case, I am minded to give him no further warnings and to take him out.
So what do you plan to do?
Just before we go ahead, do you want to tell Romy what happened when Liam and Saoirse met?
When Liam and Saoirse met, Liam killed Saoirse.
Yeah,
With
Liam
ease.
killed Saoirse. Liam drained her
Saoirse.
dry.
Then it would appear the prince has given you a purpose that aligns with mine. How fortunate.
A little issue. Liam has absorbed Saoirse.
Is there anything that Saoirse knows that we should know before, going through that? Because as I understand it, Diablerie can give you certain access to memories.
I suppose it will mean he has some familiarity to the university itself.
So
We
then
will have to be careful.
nothing here is safe. Right? Like, there's... If he knows all about the university, and I'm sure Saoirse knows a lot about it, everything that she had put down for any sort of safety measure, he'd be able to just bypass it.
Then I suppose, Finn, we are lucky to have you among our number. He'll be expecting the tactics that Saoirse laid out for you. If instead we have brute force and immediate action on our sides, which Saoirse was never partial to, we may just surprise him.
I couldn't even move. I didn't even know he was there. What could I even do?
Do you know what he intends to do next?
You're his favorite meal of choice, as far as I understand it, Romy.
He seems to
one way of
dislike you
putting it.
greatly.
He told us we were not to stand in the way
Yep.
of him getting what he wants. And you're what he wants, Romy.
And do you think you can use that to your advantage? She very calmly begins to roll up her sleeves.
And am I aware of what she might be preparing for?
Let's see if you can discern anything from her behavior, certainly. Give me, please, give me your resolve and insight, please, Bing Bing. Let's see what you can glean of this. Does anybody else want to have a think about this?
I have the ability to detect lies. I'm wondering if there's anything else that Romy is keeping from us.
Okay.
If I can do that, maybe.
Okay. Let's resolve Bing Bing's roll quickly. We've got one success. Bing Bing, you have no idea, save for the fact that she clearly intends action. As she's rolling up her sleeves, you see that she's still wearing sort of a holster around her lower chest. And she's clearly ready for something to happen. You wanted to detect lies.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, please, and give me your wits and insight then, please. Or intelligence and insight, whichever you prefer. Just tell me which you've used.
Wits and insight.
Okay.
So that's 6. I have 2.
Wow. Give me one more dice, please.
Okay.
Okay. Being close to the Camarilla for the time that you have been, you are fully aware of exactly how important hierarchy is. And beyond just the importance of hierarchy, obviously there stands the importance of title. Romy has title, you do not. And one of the things that begins to ring through your head is Liam's words to you. And what do you think that tower was built on? Romy is preparing to build. The question is on whose backs she will be building. Now, that's not to say that this is anything personal. It's just you understand what it is for the Camarilla to choose their words carefully. And you have noticed that Romy hasn't once told you her intent, but has repeatedly asked you for yours. As this thought rolls around the back of your mind, something else creeps with it, and that's the gentle purring in the back of your mind of a voice saying that really, wouldn't it just be a lot more pleasant if you could just forget about all of this and find yourself something to eat? Hunger has been more important than anything, and talking will clearly achieve nothing. You're under the effect of a hunger compulsion. Until you slake a point of hunger, you will struggle to concentrate and lose 2 dice from your pool. CT, Finn, anything you want to check, or are you happy to continue the conversation?
Happy to continue.
I'm just pissed off.
Okay. Romy,
So, Romy.
finishes rolling up her sleeves and raises her eyes to you, Finn.
What are you doing?
Preparing for things to get interesting, aren't you?
I look behind me as if you expecting somebody?
She lets out a rather uncharacteristically loud laugh, and throwing her head back, smiles and says, no, it's just been a rather tense night, lots of conversations. I'm having another conversation now, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of looking forward to just having a good-fashioned fight.
Do
Not
you
with
anticipate fighting here?
How else do you propose that we kill Liam? I'm not saying right now, I'm just getting a little ahead of myself.
I see.
Well, not gonna lie, it'd be fun to punch Liam in the face.
If you could reach him.
Kinda into that. If I could reach him, but I will say, we are adding a bit more power on our side. And Romy, you've dealt with him before. You think we have a chance? I mean, it seems like you are ready to go gangbusters on him by yourself. So,
You have a chance, and I'll give you one tip for dealing with him. Don't look at his eyes. Nothing he does works if you're in the open and not looking at his eyes. Does that
Great.
help?
that's actually a fight trick. Everybody look at his chest. Gives away what he's gonna do.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I love all this. I love all this. We're all pally, despite the fact that this was like us getting punished for your mistakes in the past. Do you know what? I'm not entirely sure what situation we're all in here, but I am very sure that I only hate him slightly more than I hate what's going on right now. So for now, that's okay. That's all right. We'll be all pally. We'll jump in the same fucking coffin together and we'll fight this Liam. But you make sure, because I know the way the Camarilla works, you make sure that these people get their fucking just rewards, all right? You make sure they get the fucking recognition they deserve for teaming up and clearing up your fucking mess. I don't give a shit. I live in a fucking van. But these people, they got actual futures, all right?
Romy smiles and steps towards you slightly, CT, lifting herself from the desk to stand tall, and she leans forwards ever so slightly. Yes, Charles. Tell me, what happened to that friend of yours that was in danger?
Why do you want to know, Romy?
She turns to look at Dee and says nothing.
Is there a window to the outside, to the front?
There is.
Can I see through it?
What are you looking for?
Joshua?
How close did you park your van, CT?
Right, probably right outside so I could keep an eye on him.
You can see something moving around inside the van. Bing, bing. From the distance, it's not totally clear, but certainly you can see movement. Romy looks away from Dimitar and looks back at CT. You got them out, I take it?
No. I got there too late. Is what fucking happened. I got there too fucking late, Romy.
Then perhaps you might consider being a little more polite to the individual who can vouch for your friend and ensure they make it through the next night. Don't you think? Do I need to remind you what a sheriff means, Charles? No, I thought not. Now, if you don't mind, The next thing I did have to tell you was that the prince has decided, given the urgency of all this, Elysium will be tomorrow, not the night after. You have precisely tonight to go and get yourselves ready, and you will be working the Elysium in a more official capacity. I will need you to be at the site for Elysium an hour after dawn to meet with Anne, the keeper. Be prompt. Now leave.
Do you think he'll attack at the Elysium? He'll actually do that? I mean, that's ballsy.
He seems to like showmanship. It would make sense that he wants to make a demonstration of things.
Besides that, I tend to keep my location quite quiet, and I anticipate that it's the one place he can guarantee he can find me. Now, if you don't mind. Oh, and Charles, would you
Yes.
like me to make mention to the prince that there's someone who needs introducing?
Yes, please, Romy.
I'll do what I can, Charles. Good
I
night.
appreciate it.
She moves over to the door and holds it open for you all and ushers you outside. And as the last of you leaves, she shuts it fast behind you. You hear hurried steps back over the room and low muttering between the two women.
Heightened senses?
You're hearing, I presume.
Oh, yeah.
You can hear Romy questioning Demeter intensely about exactly what she told you all, exactly what happens next, exactly what you told her, and she is ruthless in her questions. They are machine gun fire, rapid, direct, and she doesn't accept any storytelling from Demeter at all. She wants direct and plain answers.
She seems a little bloodthirsty.
What can I say?
What do we do about Joshua?
It's a good question. We can't leave him in the van.
Introduce
Stay
him
here.
to polite society.
Yeah, we can't do that tonight. He won't be allowed in
Right.
Elysium. Like, he won't be allowed. He needs to be presented to the prince first, and the prince needs to summon him.
Can he stay in the van with you? Is there room in your...
I mean, there's plenty of
Music
room,
box.
but I can't guarantee that it's going to be worth, like I'll be parking the van up near Elysium. What happened to that safe house? Finn, you had a safe house?
Yeah, I can talk to my contacts and see if we can find another spot for Joshua.
I can
for
put
the
you
night. But will
the
Joshua
shelf in the
stay?
mortuary.
Joshua will stay, because I'll give him a whole load of books that are basically his cryptid fantasies, all right? He'll be having wet dreams over those books for years to come. So, don't fret about that.
Okay.
But is it possible, could I ask a favor? And I will owe you one at some point in the next century, say. Can your contact have like a safe word? And if shit goes wrong, we get that safe word to your contact, and he takes Joshua straight to Anarch territory.
You want Anarch territory or just move him to a different spot? Because
With the
Anarch
Anarchs-
territory,
With the Anarchs, he has a 50-50 chance of surviving. An unregistered kindred in Cami territory, definitely death.
so you don't trust that Romy's gonna do her side.
I think Romy
Just
will
in
do her
case.
side. I just don't trust that the prince will accept that.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah,
Romy,
I'll talk to
as
them.
much as I have my issues with Romy is very much a person of their word. Providing we do our bit, she will do hers.
Okay. So let me set up my contact and figure out all that. You can take Joshua there on our way to Elysium. Does that sound good?
Well, Elysium's tomorrow, so
Right.
we have
So
got
on the
an
way
entire
tomorrow
night.
before dawn.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll load I'll load Joshua into my flight case, Because I know that straight after when you first get turned, you need a good 24 hours like full sleep in the torpor state before you probably don't remember this, you're too young for it, but you do need like a full 24 hours full sleep just to kind of your body to get used to being what we are, really.
Right.
That should sort us out. That should be all right for Joshua. That should be okay.
Okay.
And then I suppose it's a case of gearing up, but not too much gearing up, because
Right.
it's Elysium. No weapons, no violence, no powers.
But if we're working
discipline.
it in an official capacity, does that mean that we can?
Oh,
In
no.
anticipation of an attack?
No
Means there will be.
violence at Elysium.
Even if Liam
If there's an
comes out
attack,
of nowhere?
follow Romy. If the sheriff attacks, then we kind of have permission to join her side. But
Okay.
She makes my
She-
blood
I'm
boil.
assuming no firearms. I'd love to bring some of my guns, but maybe not.
Prince frowns upon such things.
All right.
it also raises
brass knuckles it
suspicions
is.
with the locals.
Just
So,
old-fashioned vampire powers.
however,
Right, so
if you
see
take
them
one
all.
just in case, I'll just turn the music up and it'll be fine.
Fair enough.
You
Got
know?
a good
So-
Bluetooth speaker, huh?
You are, for the evening, you have a couple of hours left in your evening before you need to rest. Do any of you need to feed, need to mend?
I need to feed, right?
Oh yeah, feeding.
Yeah, you do.
Got
Okay.
that hunger compulsion.
What hunger are you on right now, Em?
2?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a moment then. Each of you obviously have your own preferences for feeding. Do you, as a collective, sweep around town to feed as a unit, or are you going to split?
We'll just split up and meet the following night, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to my contact and set up the stuff for Joshua and CT.
Okay.
Pop a chunk over here.
Let's-
Need a
You
ride
good?
to your spot, your feeding spot?
Yeah, sure. How close are we to the university? We're here, right? Or just
You're at Demeter's office, the museum in the jewelry
okay.
quarter. So a little way
Oh,
near
right.
the city centre.
okay? Yeah, I'll take a ride.
All right.
Bing Bing's
Thank-
gonna head to the mortuary.
Okay. And
Hit the
CT.
bars.
Okay. In that case, let's stick with Em and Finn for a moment. Let's follow them. Em, your usual hunting ground. What are you looking for?
Can I go check if Jake's in his usual spot?
You can absolutely try.
It was the 24-hour cafe.
It was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Drop you off at your favorite little cafe.
Yeah, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll pick you up tomorrow at your apartment for the Elysium.
Sounds good, but how am I going to get from the cafe to my apartment?
I'll come pick you up if you need. I just gotta go deal with this spot for
Right.
Joshua.
Yeah, important stuff. Yeah, I'm really thankful I don't have to deal with Joshua. But thanks, Finn. I appreciate it.
Yeah, say a couple hours.
Sure. Yeah.
Take your time.
Thank you.
Drop her off, and I'll skid her off.
Okay. When you walk into this late night cafe, the atmosphere is very quiet and subdued. It's one of the reasons why it's pleasant to hunt. It's intimate. People are having hushed conversations in corners, not so much the packed dance floors that maybe you preferred in younger days, but it's easier this way. It's easier to get somebody's attention and keep it. I need you please to roll me your charisma and subterfuge. And if you could please roll me that at difficulty 3.
Okay.
You don't have to take a penalty because this is about feeding. Perfect.
Is that like that? Okay, great.
You're at hunger 2, aren't you?
right?
So it would have been
Yes.
8, 2, 3, but that's totally fine. We can take that roll as it is. Don't worry.
Oh,
That's
okay, great.
it's a success anyway.
Yes.
You find somebody to feed on with no problem.
Okay.
Not your usual favorite, but somebody sort of notices you pretty quickly and moves himself over to come and talk to you. Your feed can go ahead without a hitch. How much are you looking to take?
I would like to go down to hunger 1.
Okay, single point. You can go ahead and mark that off on your sheet, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, I presume, return to wait for Finn.
I do, yes. I think I convinced them that they know me. And of course, they're like, yeah, right?
They've seen you around somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Finn, you've gone to deal with your contact. You've managed to get somewhere for Joshua to stay, no problem. Did you need to do any feeding or mending on your way back?
Nope.
Perfect. As you pull back up, you see stood outside the cafe looking a lot more content than she did when you dropped her off.
Got a little on your
Where is it? Right here?
right. Yeah. Let me.
Right there? Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah, this one was a little messier than usual.
All right. Shall we
Yeah, let's go.
take her back?
How was talking with your contact?
I owe him a few favors now, but you know,
That's how it
got
is.
time. Yeah.
Fair.
No
Yeah,
problem.
We got nothing but time.
Nothing but time. Well spent, of course.
Of course. In good company.
Yeah. And start the bike and head back to her place.
Perfect.
What time is it right now?
You've got a few hours until dawn. At
Yours.
least.
Okay, so middle of the night. Okay.
Yeah, you were able to drop M off at her apartment with no problem, and you're able to make your way home as well.
See you later, Finn. Thank you.
Anything that you want to do, Finn, before you rest for the day?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go into my apartment and kind of collect some stuff. Since I lost my brass knuckles, see if I can find them. But before, when in the daytime, there's not a 24-hour like bike shop or anything like that. So I'm gonna wake up a little early and see if I can go to one before they close tomorrow night to grab some stuff. But I think I'm just gonna pack up some of my stuff and put some knuckles in my jacket pocket, and I'm gonna put a lead pipe in my satchel bag.
Perfect. Okay, brilliant. And with that,
I should actually go to CT and tell him about all the Josh stuff.
Yeah, you
way.
can go to him, or you're obviously able to tell him first thing in the evening, because I believe you were going to all meet up together and then take Joshua to the safe house before Elysium.
That's right.
So you can do that way if you'd like.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. In that case, let's check back in with Bing Bing quickly and see how her evening has been going. Bing Bing, did you have any need to feed or mend this evening?
Can I use my iron gullet and feed on the dead to get rid of my hunger? I just have one.
You can, yes. The only thing we'll need to do here then is be certain that it would go unnoticed. How is it that Bing Bing assesses which body she will feed from?
She would probably go and see who were the newly arrived dead, any Jane Does or anything like that.
Okay. Give me your intelligence and medicine at difficulty 2, please. So that's your dice pool, your hunger, and then the difficulty. Perfect. You find someone without any trouble at all. And although the blood is cold and without resonance because of its dead state, it does at least slake your hunger. I'm going to stay with you for just a moment longer and deal with your rouse and deal with you waking up before we go and speak with CT about his night and his wake up. So if you could also please do me a rouse check.
Just one dice.
Just one dice. Hungrier. corpse was perhaps not as filling as you'd hope. But just the one point you go up by. How is Bing Bing feeling about the revelations in the night to come?
Bing Bing's a little bit disturbed by how sloppy Romy feels. She doesn't like disorder in her world. She has a set plan. She has her list and order of how things are going to be done. She's not excited about being given this opportunity to take over the domain because she feels she hasn't earned it properly yet. She doesn't like how messy and abrupt it was given to her. So she's unsure. She knows she's still... Dee and her are still from the same clan, and so she still has that bond and she still trusts Dee, but she's unsure about where Romy stands, and she doesn't like how chaotic it feels.
Okay. With those thoughts in Bing Bing's mind, we'll send Bing Bing to meet with the others. Finn, if I can ask you please, while I talk with CT now, just to do your rouse checks and add your hunger as appropriate. And in the meantime, CT, as you travel back from Dee's office with Joshua in tow, ready for the next night, the first thing that rattles around your head is that the professor taught you the need for preparation as first and foremost. You replay the events of the evening, and something about Romy's words sticks almost in the back of your mind, and you, checking yourself in this moment, find your actions contradict your own conviction. I need you please to roll me a remorse check, having taken one stain for breaching your conviction to always be prepared and to never act blind. A remorse check is rolling the gap between your humanity and the stains acquired. Obviously, CT already dropped to humanity level from the loss of Joshua, so humanity 6 with a single stain. I need you to roll me 3 dice, please. One success. What is it that CT regrets about how the night went that allows him to keep his humanity?
I think he's driving along and he's talking to Joshua, and Joshua's going on about these books, these amazing things that he'd never really that he never thought actually existed, and that he had thoughts that might exist but didn't actually exist, and here's me poking away saying these ones are just folklore, that stuff, but I know these things happen, and as the street lights are just flashing by, I remember what it was like when he was mortal, and the thoughts that would more preparation really have made a difference? And was it worth me rushing in headlong? Was there anything that I could have done that would have been different, that would have stopped this innocent young man from getting the siring that he got? And I think the regret comes from the lack of control over everything that I did. The jumping out of a window, which is a breach in the Masquerade if anybody had seen it. If it hadn't have been in the middle of the night in a abandoned area. If it hadn't have been, there was so many things that could have got me caught. And it was all completely pointless anyway, because I still wasn't ready. And I still I put myself at risk. I put Bing Bing and Finn and Em at risk, all for the sake of something that had already passed. I think that regret sits heavy on the fact that I could have lost the life of Joshua, but I could have also lost the unlife of all 5 of us from my reckless actions.
Okay. And with that, of course, you are able to go to rest, to put Joshua to sleep, to explain to him that he must sleep through the day, and to rest yourself. I need you as well, please, to do me that single rouse check.
I was going to go.
Sorry, you wanted to talk about
hunting.
feeding first, didn't you? Of course.
Yeah.
You wanted to go
I'm
by
real
the
hungry.
bars. Of course.
Joshua, just stay. Look. You're all fed up. You're all okay, right? You see the flight case? Yeah. Just crack it open. What? There's what in there? An old pair of knickers. Oh, don't worry about it. Just throw them out. It's fine. It's not a problem. Just the more you ask questions, look, you've got enough answers in those books, right? It's okay. Yeah. Get yourself nice and comfortable. Grab a couple of books and your torch and your phone or what have you. Yeah, that'll be fine. Whatever. Okay, right, you're gonna sleep for about 24 hours, maybe 2 days, depending. Well, the blood's gotta get through your system and you gotta get it all sorted, all right? Don't worry about it. Okay, shut the case. I'll drop you off somewhere safe. Don't you worry about it, okay? Fucking hell, who'd have kids? Right, let's hit some bars.
Okay. I need you, please, to make me manipulation persuasion at, we're going to call it difficulty 2. CT knows the city well and knows which bars are the easiest to hit at this time of night, so it isn't a very difficult task for him.
Oh. Manipulation persuasion. It's not great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You succeed. What kind of person are you looking for, CT?
Given how hungry I am gonna hit some of the bars that have got like bands going on. Everyone's a little bit drunk. It's all like we're hitting the early hours. This is like after party level. And I go in, I see some of the guys, I'm like, hey, how's it going? I ain't seen you in ages. Yeah, man, come on, we'll get some sorted. Yeah, don't worry, I got some gear. I mean, nothing bounces, it's fine. It's like, don't fret it. It's not an issue at all. It's cool. Yeah, I got some gear. Should we hit backstage? Yeah, backstage. Yeah, cool. Quick, you 3, come with us. It'll be grand. We'll have a wild time. We go back and I line up loads of different lines and people snort them and what have you. And then I just snort from my little bag of talcum powder or whatever it is that I snort for the habit side of it. And then as everyone's out their face, I just take a little nibble.
Okay. CT, you have a particular addiction, do you not? That finding somebody, it's been a little bit of a difficult time for CT. He's had a couple of failed hunts as well, and this is the first time that you've managed to feed on the type of person you really want to be feeding on. And that gives you a little buzz. Because CT, with the high-functioning addict perk, you can now add 1 die to a category of pool of your choosing for the next night until you feed again. Are you going to add that bonus dice to your physical, social, or mental stats?
Given what's coming, I'm gonna go physical.
Okay. Make sure you keep a note of that, but you can have a bonus dice for every physical roll until you feed again.
Cool.
Okay. You are able to rise and meet with the others the next night without any instruction. Joshua is taken to the flight case quite well, and as you wake, you do notice that he still seems groggy. The nighttime hasn't quite lifted him out of his day slumber yet. And after going via Finn's contact with him and dropping Joshua at the safe house, the four of you are able to head towards the university so that you can prepare yourselves for Elysium.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Josh. Honestly, buddy, like, you're safe here. I know. Look, I've spoken to Finn. He's got all this stuff sorted, okay? Don't, like, seriously, it's fine. It's fine. What? Okay, yeah, okay, fine. Look, raid the back of the van, grab the 2 books that you want. The rest of them will be here in a minute, okay? They'll be here in a minute, and I need to go. What am I doing? Going to a list. Okay, so there's a special, like, social gathering club for Kindred, okay? And you're not allowed in yet. I know. Oh, good lord. You were a lot less annoying as immortal, I swear to God. Yeah? Okay. Be alright. While I'm waiting for everybody to turn up, can I root around in the back of the van to see if there's any, like, it's probably just my own kind of thoughts, but, like, rooting around to try and find anything that might, like, little talismans and emblems that might protect me from weird mind jiggery pokery.
Yeah, we can... Okay. It'll be an occult roll. Let's call it intelligence, because this is something that you will have had to have hoarded. So it will be something that's already there.
Intelligence occult. Cool.
Intelligence occult.
Oh, they're in the wrong chat.
4 successes. That's pretty good. As you're rooting around in the back of the van, 2 things occur to you. The first is, Romy told you not to look in his eyes. And if there's one thing you know will help with that, it's definitely your trusty sunglasses. You slam them onto your face quickly and keep them in place. These are going to help. Secondly, your eyes fall on the vial of purple dust. As far as weapons that don't look like weapons go, this is pretty good.
Yeah. What was it she said? If you're gonna open it, make sure you throw it far. Something along those lines. Something to do with gangrel blood or something. Alright, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. We got this. I need to remember to tell them that. Just make sure they've got a hold on this stuff. Where are those drumsticks?
Okay. The 4 of you meet on the grounds of the University of Birmingham. And as you approach the front lawn, Bing Bing, Finn, M, and CT, you can see a single figure, hood up against the rain, waiting outside the front door. The shadows obscure their features, and the slim form would seem motionless were it not for the glittering of their fingers, heavily adorned with rings that are catching the light as they move. With their back to the university, they watch you approach, and as you draw close, the figure lowers their hood. She shakes loose a mess of pink hair, so uncared for and scraggly that it almost resembles clumps of seaweed. Her features are uncannily large. Green eyes stretch the nearly translucent skin around her skull, and her mouth cracks wide into a large grin. The small woman holds her hands out, and in a strangely clear voice, considering the low volume she speaks with, she says, "Darlings, true pleasure to meet such quickly rising stars in our little ecosystem. I'm Anne, tonight's keeper of Elysium, and the prince's harpy the rest of the time. For tonight, I'm in charge. And after that, I hope we'll be good friends." She, with a flourish of her arms, brings them wide, beckons you forward, and lowers them to her side. "Now, I have had my firm and respected hands on keeping for some around 70 years now, and I intend to keep that reputation intact. I don't believe I've seen all of you at Elysium before, so I'm going to explain how this goes once, and then you'll all be accountable for each other, as is tradition for a coterie. Isn't that exciting? Luckily for you, I will be holding you to account as a collective, and I am very petty, so I'm going to be watching you carefully. But if you do exceptionally well, I may be happy to owe you a favor or two. We don't have a lot of time, so keep up, listen up, and speak only if I ask you a question. Okay? And she turns on her heels without waiting for you to answer. She gestures for you to follow with a simple curl of her middle and index finger and walks through the open door. When Elysium is used to announce a position or a domain like this, it is opened in stages. First, we use roster to ensure the correct representatives are present. Second, Grace marks the location officially and closes the door to any unintended or unwelcome visitors. I'll be handling that with Romy, so now would be a good time to tell me if you forgot to put anyone on the guest list. Not a question. Finn, CT, I've earmarked you two for duty during roster. I need you signing in representatives by name and clan, and when everyone is accounted for, you must come and find me. Each formal representative has a custom-made and very expensive watch, adorned with symbols that identify their clan. Understood? That is a question.
Yes. Watches, names, clans.
Wonderful.
Right.
Oh, we're going to be friends. Girls, I want you on hand inside to make our guests feel comfortable. Or uncomfortable, if they deserve it. I'll let you know which treatment is due. Understood? That's a question.
Yes.
Yes?
Wonderful! Oh, we'll all be friends. Oh, and the standard rules apply to everyone. No violence inside. No drawing attention to the event while entering or leaving. No violence inside. Wait to be formally introduced to anybody seated within the court proper. No violence inside. Any issues with that? That's a question.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, good. I am so glad that you catch on quickly. Now, come with me. She leads you down the corridor and up a set of stairs into a small room, largely bare except for a few pieces of office furniture and large, heavy drapes pulled aside from a window that gives you an excellent view of the grounds. The single corridor past it makes it a very easy control point, and she informs you, CT and Finn, that this is where you will be based until roster is finished. She explains that you only need to worry about taking their names, introducing yourselves, and sending them down the corridor. She'll do the rest. She promptly leaves, with Bing Bing and Em in tow.
Did we just become servants? What?
Yeah, basically, that's exactly what just happened. We are bellboys at best.
Wow, okay.
It's worth it for the cami points.
This is stuffy.
Yeah, it's worth it for the cami points, and to be fair, we're likely to be the first on hand when she hits the pan. Try and be nice.
And when he shows up, he'll be right in front of us. Great. Awesome. Yeah, so there goes our surprise.
Yeah. I'm hoping he finds Romy first, if I'm honest with you, because if she can kick stuff off, then we are kind of okay. I think.
Can we just let him in if that happens, by the way?
We don't have too much of a choice.
Okay, all right. No violence inside.
Just stare at everybody's chests. Wait,
right.
Probably not a wise idea, depending on who it is. Yeah.
Right, yes. Probably not everyone's chests. Just the ones that it's appropriate to do so.
Yeah.
All right. May have already done that today. Okay, all right.
In CT, once you are left alone in this room to wait, as Anne, down the corridor with Bing Bing and Emily, you can hear her whittering quietly sort of to them as she carries on down the hallway. You are kind of not left to your own devices for very long. Before long, a few people, sort of in dribs and drabs, begin to enter the room. The process proceeds with very little difficulty. With the instruction publicly known to be wary of drawing attention, the attendees are arriving in pairs at most. They're well-dressed, politely spoken, save for a Tremere representative, a woman named Leanne, who voices a particular interest in meeting you both as part of the coterie who showed such disrespect to Saoirse's workspace. With a single scathing look, she makes clear that she knows exactly who you both are before she moves on, with very little pleasantry. Shortly after her, a man named Adam presents his watch and declares that his representation is for the Ventru clan. But before you can put his name and details down, another bursts through the doorway. No, I'm here to represent the kings, and you have to let me in. Don't know who this guy is.
Well, he's got the watch.
The man pulls out a watch of his own as well, and sort of with one hand on his hip gives you a sort of,
Can I see which one is the real watch?
You can take both, yes. The first man, Adam, hands you a gold majority-based watch with some sort of silver-colored details on it. Looking at the back, you can see a crossblade and scepter engraved with a bronze-colored ring around the outside. The second watch, that by the boisterous young man who burst through the door afterwards, is silver-colored majority with gold hands and gold details. The reverse also shows a blade and scepter, but no bronze ring.
Do you know the difference? I don't.
Any recurring themes among the watches?
It literally looks like the reverse version of each other.
Are you twins?
Just different. Yeah. Friends?
The first man, Adam, politely stifles a laugh behind his hand. William sneers.
William and Adam. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, gents. Give me 2 minutes. I'll go find the delightful individual who runs this, and we can get this all sorted out. Yeah?
I hand the 2 watches to CT.
CT.
And if you 2 could wait just like off to the side there so that other people can just do that.
CT, give me a craft roll. Wits and craft, please. Let's see what you notice about these watches. Keeping in mind that craft is a physical skill, and you can use your bonus dice here.
Oh, cool. Ooh.
2 successes. With 2 successes, the first thing that's obvious when you take the 2 watches from Finn is that one is substantially lighter than the other. The watch belonging to William is much lighter. The second thing that occurs to you with your own history of assessing the quality of these things is that you are able to lift up each watch and press it against your fang and look back at it. Adam's watch shows indentation on the gold, which is to be expected, but none on the silver detailing. William's shows scratch marks all over it, which tells you one thing immediately. William's watch is far, far cheaper than Adam's. And the fact that the silver of Adam's watch doesn't scratch tells you that his is detailed with platinum, a much more expensive metal than the silver that seems to be making up William's.
Well, these seem very delightful and amazing, as is known for you, what do you call yourselves, the kings? Yeah, whatever. So, Adam, your watch, I'm gonna let you, it was Adam that had the fancier one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Adam, I'm gonna throw you a bone here and let you in, just because I like your watch better. And William, fuck off.
William looks affronted. Adam just gives a small polite nod and taking his hand out to you to take the watch back, tucks it into his pocket, nods to you both, says, "Pleasure, gentlemen. I'm glad you could see the obvious sense in the situation, if you don't mind." And straightening very slightly a collar pin in the shape of a wreath, he continues and heads out of the door. William seems furious. He turns to you both, and you're certain that if he could go red in the face with rage, he probably would. He reaches to snatch the watch back from you, CT.
Politeness, come on now, play the game.
Sorry, what was it? How was it you said it? Fuck off.
Alright then,
back
don't
at
have
you,
your
mate.
watch. See you later, bye.
Give me, please, a strength and brawl roll.
Oh, brilliant.
Always amusing.
You managed to keep the watch. What happens when he tries to snatch it from you?
I think because of the fact that CT is just in that mood, I think he literally grabs the end of the watch, like, and pulls it, and he's like, ah! And I just go and flick him on the nose, and he's like, what the hell? And I just take the watch off it, and I'm like, no. No.
He kind of like bares his fangs and snarls at you, and you see 2 gold teeth positioned in the top of his fangs.
No violence. No violence.
He, you see him like clench his fists and unclench them, and right, no violence. Got it. Can I have my watch back, please?
Yes, you can.
That was nicer.
Thank
There you
you
go.
very much. And he turns to storm from the room. As he's leaving, he shouts over his shoulder, I was sent by the Ventru in fucking London, and they are hearing about this. And he heads down the corridor.
Okay, bye.
He didn't get our names, did he? I think he forgot to ask. So that's good.
I'm wearing incognito anyway. No one will know. However, we should now be very aware of Adam.
Why?
Because if there was 2 Ventru here, and one of them had a real fancy watch, there is a chance that that was Adam.
Okay.
Do we have, like, radios or anything?
No, the Camarilla are notoriously technophobic.
I thought we might not. Do we have runners?
There are ghouls that are sort of doing trips of varying kinds. You may be able to catch someone if you needed to, yes. What are you
Yeah, I'm
looking
going to
do?
try and grab a ghoul.
Okay.
Alright, I guess I'll do this with all
Yeah, just two
windows.
seconds. 2 seconds, Finn, just because, well, I'm not going to lie. Over the past couple of nights, it's been a bit tumultuous, and I just want to be on my guard, you know?
Fair enough.
Grab
I
a
get you.
ghoul. Yo, come here. I need you to head to Romy, or M, or Bing Bing. One of the 3. Tell them there's a Ventru called Adam, very fancy watch, platinum and gold and silver. Keep an eye on him, and tell them he might be who we're looking for. In a friendly kind of way. Don't make it look suspicious, alright? Because it's not suspicious, it's friendly.
Yeah, sure, okay,
And if you don't make this a top priority, I'm gonna kick you out of this place.
well, excuse me then. And she turns and runs down the corridor as fast as she can manage. Calling
what,
over
Finn?
her shoulder, she goes, Romy or Bing Bing, all right?
Yep, Romeo, Bing Bing, or M. One of the 3.
You see, as she goes round the corner, like the last thing you see is her hand go up as she shouts, got it! And disappears down the hallway.
Do you know what, Finn? I could get used to this. This is hilarious.
Yeah, that was kind of hot. Alright. Let's go, Daddy Chuck.
Come on now.
Into it.
The rest of taking names is fairly normal. You're presented with probably the finest array of watches you have ever seen. All a number of sort of platinum and gold with beautiful engravings, all of them, and certain sort of embellished with precious gems. In particular, one that sticks out to you is the Toreador watch, which has been emblazoned with just a couple of rubies accentuating rose petals. The La Sombra watch, a crown, where each of the jewels is actually a very small diamond. The prince certainly spared no expense when preparing these watches for the representatives.
Wow.
And with that, let's check in with the girls and see how they're getting on with Anne. Bing Bing, as you've walked down the corridor away from the boys, Anne has been whittering to you like you would not believe. A lot of kind of details that maybe were common sense, but some that seem a little intriguing. She occasionally hints at gossip that she then tells you that she absolutely can't tell you about, with a sort of comical, almost wink. She adds, until we're on our own and out of the sight of anybody else. I've only seen you at Elysium a couple of times, I think. I think only when you were first introduced. That was a while ago, wasn't it? Where have you been, darling?
Oh, I can talk now?
Oh, that was a question, yes.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, keeping busy. How about you?
Oh, yes. No, well, being a harpy is a tiresome job. I have to keep up to date with absolutely everything and listen to everyone. And on top of that, I've had a real difficult time getting some training right for a little pet of mine. You see, I know that a lot of my clan have these real ghastly little rats, but I wanted something a little bit more precious than that. So I thought I might try a gerbil.
Oh.
Little white
nice.
thing. I've called it Marilyn, and she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a very fat gerbil.
You have it on you. You carry it on.
Oh yes, eyes and ears everywhere, darling.
It's
and
fat.
She whispers to the gerbil very slightly and lowers it to the floor, and this thing scurries off down the corridor. There! Now I'll know what's happening in the next room. Isn't that fun? And she continues, leading you towards a sort of slightly more open space. A few people are mingling here. You can actually see that Dimitar is sat at a table just through a doorway at the end. And a couple of other people are coming through in dribs and drabs. They begin to sort of filter in from the direction you've come from, so presumably the boys have been doing a good job. One particular person, however, catches Anne's eye. In the middle of some of her whittering, she pauses for an uncharacteristically long time, considering how much she likes to talk, and watches this woman move through the room. She's slight, with sort of mousy brown hair done into a very neat updo, and a beautiful green silk dress that stretches down past her knees. She looks upset, and she stood next to a very tall and bulky man who kind of looks impatient. Anne looks at the pair for a long time and then turns to the two of you. You know when I said that we were going to make our guests either comfortable or uncomfortable, depending on the situation? Well, do you see over there? Oh, don't worry about being subtle. Stare at her. Right. Her name is Sophie. Last Elysium, our darling Sophie made a bit of an idiot of herself. You see, she attempted to seduce somebody else's ghoul. Bit of a faux pas. You have to be careful about who you feed on. So, we're going to make her uncomfortable, girls. Tell me, how accustomed are you to some of the social combat elements of Elysium?
I'm not very social.
Bing Bing can do the making them uncomfortable part.
Oh, Em, I think you're undermining yourself a little, darling. And she reaches out and places a hand on your arm. The skin feels slightly loose. It's almost like it's over wrinkled. And as she sort of rubs up and down, you see the skin stays just very slightly in place as she does so. Em, darling, you see, Sophie is one of your clan, and if anybody knows how to get under the skin of a rose, it's a better, bigger, more pretty rose, isn't it?
I suppose. What do you want me to do?
I want you and Bing Bing to go over there and make her feel about 2 inches tall.
Well, okay.
She kind of, go on. Oh, and make it good. There's lots of people watching, and you'll want to make a good first impression.
Bing Bing stares at the harpy for a moment and then walks over.
As you cross over to this woman, you start to catch a little bit more of her conversation. She's expressing to the man with her that she really doesn't understand why they're holding such a grudge. It was one little mistake. She's never done it before. She doesn't want to do it again. And anyway, if other people kept closer eyes on their ghouls, there wouldn't be this kind of confusion. There are blood ghouls everywhere. How is she supposed to know which ones are actually ghouls and which ones are blood slaves? It was a really perfectly innocent mistake, and she catches you approaching and slows her speech.
Hello, Sophie. I am Bing Bing.
Oh. Yeah, of course you know my name.
Kiss
Hi.
my hand.
Excuse me?
Yes.
She stares at you for a little bit. Bing Bing. Please give me... Are you trying to intimidate her at this moment? Or are you trying to persuade her
No,
to do
she's
it?
just saying hello.
Okay. Sophie looks at your hand and looks back up at you and... Sorry. Kiss... Who are you exactly?
I'm Bing Bing. I'm meeting you.
Right. I don't kiss hands of people I'm meeting. That's kind of a me thing, actually.
I don't care. Are you going to be polite, or will you continue to be as rude as you've been these last few, however many years you are?
She sort of just stares at you, Bing Bing, like just blank, and does nothing. She makes no move to take your hand.
I see. Still rude and childish.
Do you have anything to say here?
Sophie, hello. How are you this evening? Can I see your weird collection of things that all of us definitely have? I have human hair. What do you have in your pocket?
What do you mean weird collection of things? Sophie looks down at her bag and begins to frantically rifle through it. Bing Bing, can I get you please to make me a manipulation etiquette roll? Can I get you please?
Hair of my victims. I don't understand why you also don't have something like this.
Can I get you please? What are you trying to how are you trying to make her feel here?
I'm trying to make her feel very uncomfortable and maybe even leave.
Yeah, okay. Give me please I'm gonna say charisma and insight. I want to see if you can pick up on what she's trying here. Okay. Okay, 3 successes, 4 successes. I'm going to roll.
Smells good.
I'm going to roll against you. This is her roll against Bing Bing. Ouch. And she's going to roll against Ouch. She looks between the two of you and sort of how flustered she feels is immediately apparent. She, through rifling in her bag, manages to throw a lipstick onto the floor and kind of, oh God, Bruno, the man with her that she addresses very quickly, stoops to pick up the lipstick for her. But in doing so, as she stoops, she sort of manages to awkwardly nudge Bing Bing's leg. And kind of from that position, you can see the sort of how mortified she is, sort of emblazoned on her face. She takes a moment where she is to kind of try and compose herself, and then she straightens herself back up. She looks at the both of you, and then a very small smile creeps into the corner of her mouth, and she looks you up and down, and she says, "Oh yes, I heard about you. You're the one whose sire dumped them here and left them behind, aren't you? I can see why nobody would want you. You're horribly rude, and if you keep items like that around, you're a masquerade breach waiting to happen. I need you, please, to roll me your composure and resolve." And that will be at difficulty. Oh boy. Difficulty 6.
What? Like that?
Yes. That hurt. That cut deep. I need you please to take me 2 superficial willpower damage.
Ooh.
And I also need you to roll me a compulsion dice for the bestial failure.
Just V2?
Just roll me a single dice, V1.
Oh, sure. There you go.
As she sort of purrs these words out at you, you sort of begin to toy with the idea of how satisfying it might be just to drain this bitch dry.
Oh, yes.
Hunger creeps into the back of your mind again. And then she looks to Bing Bing. And you. Not even part of one of the actual clans, are you? Just some wayward family that the court have decided to accept. I don't see you having a primogen on this council. I don't see you having representation. What makes you think you get a say here?
What makes you think anybody likes you enough that you do?
Bing Bing, give me your composure intimidation, please. And that will be, I will roll for her first. That will be against difficulty 3. You don't quite believe the words you said, and what she has said stings. I need you to take 1 superficial willpower damage, please. She straightens herself, seemingly satisfied with what she's managed to say to you both, and sort of rolling her shoulders back and preening very slightly, smiles, satisfied, and looks between you both.
Can I do something with Bruno or something? Can we retaliate somehow?
Absolutely. What would you like to try?
Can I try to seduce Bruno?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay.
Give me your charisma, and is this charisma subterfuge, let's call this, and you can take your seduction bonus. And obviously Em also gets her bonus from the fact that she's beautiful, so you have a bonus dice from that.
Is this charisma and subterfuge?
Charisma, subterfuge with your seduction bonus and the extra dice from being beautiful.
Great. Hunger 2.
And wow. What do you say, Em?
What do I say?
Or do.
I just push Sophie out of just with my elbow. And I just walk right over to Bruno, who's still flustered about that. Did he go to pick up a lipstick or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I take it from his hand. It's clearly Sophie's, right? And I start applying it.
Mm-hmm.
I start applying it, and I put it in my pocket. And I whisper something in his ear like, "You could do better. Do you want me to take out the trash for you?"
Amazing.
Play with his hair a little. Just...
Bing Bing, as Emily steps towards Bruno, what are you doing?
I'm going to touch Sophie's arm and just, can I a little bit air of decay? Just a little. Or would that be considered violence? It's just a little decay.
Wow. Let's have a look. Aura of decay, I believe, only really affects mortals. Yeah, it only affects the living. So aura of decay wouldn't do anything.
Okay, then maybe I just decay her purse out of spite.
You absolutely can.
So I just touch her arm and stroke it all the way down to her purse.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just want to decay away her purse.
Okay. I need you to make me your rouse check first. And then, perfect. And then make me a stamina and oblivion roll at difficulty 3. Wow. As you touch the strap of her handbag, the leather begins to peel, crumble, and fall away. And the purse that she's only just collected her items back into clatters to the floor and empties again as it impacts with the ground, sending items scattering.
Cheaply made, Sophie. You're better than this.
She looks at the items on the floor, looks up at Bruno, who is so flustered he can barely find the words, save for kind of making occasional just noises, where he's kind of going like, and Sophie, looking up at the room, tries to hold a stiff upper lip, but you can see the telltale red brimming in her eyes as she realizes that this is not a fight she will win. She looks over your shoulders and, spotting Anne watching gleefully from the corner, she scoops up what she can of her belongings on the floor, turns tail, and runs from the space. Bruno looks as she leaves and kind of seems to not be sure what to do. He looks back to you and kind of goes, I should, but if you want me to, I maybe could,
I'm done with you.
Oh. Yeah, okay. That makes, yeah. And he kind of like, his shoulders drop and he turns and he follows Sophie out. And the harpy walks over, giggling gleefully. She places a hand on both of your shoulders and sort of almost as if she's trying to support herself from falling over with laughing, and says, oh my goodness. You should have seen that from a distance. That was a work of art. I knew you'd do well at that. I just knew it. We are going to be such good friends, you and I. And she kind of like forcibly loops her arms through yours and sort of turns you towards the main hall. Now, I've got plenty other people that I need to introduce you to, but I promise you can be nice to those ones. I just wanted to make a point. And she, as you walk into the main hall, kind of with her head gestures to a couple of the people watching, and sure enough, there are some impressed expressions on the faces of people at the side of the room. Now, maybe we should go and find your friends, And as you sort of head towards the doorway, you hear the voices of CT and Finn coming from behind you, list in hand and ready to attend as well. Anne stops slightly and kind of goes, oh good, everyone's together again, and turns to look over her shoulder. That was very quick, boys. You're efficient. I wish I had more men like you in my life.
Can I say?
It was eventful.
Charmer like you. Did the ghoul find you? Did the lick that was running around? No?
No.
Shit.
No.
So, you know the list and the Ventru and stuff like that? There was 2 Ventrus that turned up. There was an Adam and there was a William. Adam had a really fancy, expensive watch, and William had a ridiculously cheap one. And basically,
booted.
We got rid of William because of the cheapness of the watch, because we know all these Ventru are like, but as a result, William was like, I've been sent by the Ventru of London, and now I suspect Adam might be up to no good.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay. Okay. Anything you can tell me about his description would be helpful. I'll make sure to keep an eye out for him. And of course, we've got plenty of ghouls, and I'll make sure Marilyn knows what to look for as well. And she kind of starts like scanning the room, looking around the floor.
Exactly. Very elegant individual, usual kind of Ventru, stick up his ass kind of person. Yeah, I'd give the description of Adam.
Fancy watch.
Right.
Gold collar
All I
chain.
remember is this
Got
way
it.
down. Wasn't really looking at his eyes. Kind of trying to avoid that. You never know.
Right.
He's a fighter. He likes to size people up. There's nothing suspicious about that actor at all. It's fine. Cool.
Okay. No, I suppose that, yeah. No, come to think of it, I'm not sure I spend much time looking at people's eyes either. That does make sense. Very sensible. Shall we? And she turns to head towards the main doors into Elysium, and frowns
A new lipstick?
slightly.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of things in this clutch.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Anne sort of gives both of you a sort of look, like her eyes flick between the two of you, and she smirks ever so slightly and goes, okay.
So, you were saying?
And turns. Shall we? And she turns towards the hall and then frowns slightly and says, Oh, well, see, I thought I was going to be leaving you with Demeter briefly while I got things sorted, but she doesn't seem to be there anymore. That's odd. And she sort of begins to scan the room proper.
Where was she? Just before you saw her?
Well, she was seated at that table just inside the door.
Was she alone,
And-
any chance?
Yes?
Oh, that's fair enough. I'll tell you what, well, why don't you have a quick browse around and I'll just go over to the table in case she comes back. I'll look around there.
Okay. You tell me if you see anything, won't you?
Of course. Unless you want me to come with you. I'm not really bothered. It was just you were going to leave us with her, so...
No. I'm expected to wander around, and I think you guys are expected to stay near the door until you're needed. So it makes sense. You stay at the table, behave yourselves, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Oh, but maybe if you do see Sophie again, Bing Bing, that was glorious. And you can be louder about that if you like. Now I know that you're really good at that. I would love to hear it from across the room. And she sort of giggling turns and sort of heads into the crowd.
Who's Sophie?
What was this whole
A
thing?
rude one.
Yes.
A rude one.
Marilyn
we ran
is
into
a
a
fat,
couple.
long rat, though. Fascinating.
What?
Wow. That's not very nice.
And as a pet gerbil.
No,
Some
Marilyn
sorcery
is
shit.
truly a fat, long rat.
Some
Oh.
sorcery
An
shit.
actual...
Do you
She
know
was
what?
long.
If I
and
didn't know
fat.
you better, Bing Bing, I would
Right.
say that you were on the same shit I'm on.
No, it truly was a rat that was long and fat. I've never seen such a thing.
Brought it here?
It would make sense for a Nosferatu, to be fair. So, we should be concerned about the fact that Demeter's disappeared, I think.
Yes. Should we ask around?
Yeah, well, let's just keep it as incognito as possible for the time being. She was
Maybe
at
I
this
can check
table.
See Romy?
The washroom, or not
Why? We
panic
don't have
yet.
bodily functions.
I
He's
mean,
gonna walk away from the group and start
we keep up
mingling.
appearances. I don't know. Yeah, right.
It's only Licks and us here. It's fine. I'll tell you what, like we'll just spread out a little bit around here. Have a look around. You two can do your socially mingly thing where you speak to people and ask whether you've seen her because, you know, well, Bing, Bing. Oh, she's gone. Never mind. We'll do the looky stuff and you do the talky stuff. That sounds good.
Sure.
What
Anybody
do you
see
want from
Romy?
me? I don't do this shit. Give me a live band or something. None of this hoity-toity Cortman shit.
CT, you said first that you were heading over to the table. Are you still headed in that direction? Okay. Bing Bing has wandered into the crowd. CT is headed for the table. Where are you going?
Wherever Finn's going.
Okay. Finn, where are you going?
I don't know.
Don't say wherever M's going.
You ever been to one of these?
Yeah, apparently.
All right. Well,
Don't remember much.
you wanna look for Romy? I feel like we haven't seen her since we got here.
I guess so, yeah. I'm kind of surprised Dee was alone too after,
Yeah.
you know, what happened. Yeah, sure. I don't know. Can you describe the area maybe? Like if there's a certain room we can go into or something?
It's a rather large sort of open converted basement area that you've gone down into. There's no windows. There's a sort of stage at the top end where you can see that there are a few people starting to gather. From Anne's description of things, you presume this must be the sort of court proper that she warned you not to introduce yourselves to. The ground level has a couple of people milling around in small groups, and some very clearly marked mortals are wandering the floor, clearly marked by a sort of armband that they're wearing on their upper arm, just a thin black band that's separate to everyone else's. Some of them are clearly blood slaves. The occasional hungry kindred in a corner feeds and then sends one on their way before moving on themselves. But it appears that apart from sort of a couple of clusters of talking people, there's not really anyone that stands out from a distance. Are you looking for something in particular in this space?
I'm just kind of looking for Romy and Dee, where they'd gone. If we see any traces of Romy, maybe.
As we walk around, is there anyone who's maybe, hushed tones as we pass, or is there anything suspicious? Is there a backstage area? As you said, there was like a stage.
Yeah, it's sort of like there's not really curtains per se, but there are definitely drapes towards the side. It's not backstage so much as like a platform that they can go up onto. Finn, give me your wits and etiquette here. And Emily, give me your, let's call it wits and insight. 4 successes for etiquette. And 2 successes for insight. Em, let's start with you. As you're sort of milling around this space with sort of, Finn at your side and paying attention to what's going on around you, the conversations are all hushed, but they all seem to be kind of gossip-centered. There are a couple of clusters of people talking about Saoirse. It's not widely known from what you overhear what actually happened to her. The news of her death has only just broken this evening, and it seems it was only broken because it was going to be impossible to hide that she wasn't present at Elysium. There are sort of rumblings of discontent that it's been kept quiet. Beyond that, the suspicion sort of doesn't seem to be placed with them, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But they are all deeply suspicious of what the court has been doing. They're very careful about this, however, and as you get closer, their conversations drop. With heightened senses, you are able to catch little bits and pieces more than maybe Finn has managed to. Finn, with your 4 successes on etiquette, a lot of this is looking quite familiar. As described to you before with Roster and then Grace, you recognize that you are still technically in the roster stage. The proceedings haven't been opened formally, and so people are almost sort of in the phase of finding their seats, so to speak. They're mingling to find out who is safe to talk to for the evening. You notice a few kind of like very definite business kind of conversations. Clans are interacting with one another more than they are with themselves. There's a politeness to that as well. They are very careful and measured in the way they approach one another. You recognize a pattern of somebody going forward, introducing themselves without extending a hand, instead showing open palms. And when recognized that that's what's happening, both parties then return their hands to their side and continue their conversation. The sort of tension from this gives you a sense that the court as a whole is in a state of paranoia. Everyone's being very careful to mind their manners this evening. But not unprecedented is that the court itself, the Primogen and representatives, are keeping their distance and watching from above. They occasionally nod to a member of their own clan, but otherwise seem to be keeping to themselves and out of the way. The prince is yet to make his appearance.
This is all stuff I'm like, hate doing this stuff.
Yeah, it feels really weird in here. Can we try to go up to maybe like a group and try to strike up a conversation? One that's just hushed about Saoirse and just slip in and pretend not to know what they're talking about? And
I think that's a great idea. You can kind of hear a little better than I can about.
Right, yeah. Let's slink on in. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone in particular that you are trying to avoid or look for out of these people? I'm thinking, Finn, you're aware that there's a Tremere representative here who has it in for you guys, so I presume you're trying to avoid her. Otherwise, just the nearest group that's talking about it?
Sure, yeah. And as long as I'm keeping away from if Adam is there too.
Okay. Yeah, you see Adam is in a conversation over towards a corner with a couple of other people that you don't recognize. It seems to be a very intense and formal conversation. His hands are sort of like clasped behind his back, and he's sort of leant forward very slightly, almost as if they're speaking ear to ear. The Tremere lady has spotted you enter the space, Finn, and has not taken her eyes off you, even if she talks to the group she's with. There is one other sort of small cluster in a corner. A pair of people are talking about the incident, as they keep referring to it, and trying to sort of figure out between themselves from what they've heard what actually happened. They seem quite excitable about the fact that nobody really knows. It's gossip, and they hope that they'll be able to find out tonight if they speak to the right people. What do you say as you get closer to these people?
Hi, I'm Em. Nice to meet you.
The
walk right in.
A sort of middle-aged looking man and a slightly older woman sort of turn to you with a small surprise that the man struggles to conceal more than the woman does. She smiles and inclines her head very slightly and politely, and both of them hold their empty palms towards you, nod. Lovely to meet you, Finn.
Is this a new way of shaking hands? What are we?
No. It's customary. We like to make sure that everybody knows we're not holding any weapons. I mean you no ill. I show you I mean you no ill. Lovely to meet you. You don't come to Elysium often. Oh, goodness, you're the new Coterie, aren't you? She sort of like snaps into awareness.
Wow.
Guess we're not too subtle, Finn.
So we've been talked about, yes.
Yes.
I hope all good things. Again, no weapons as well. Just kind of overheard you guys talking.
All gossip is good things in these parts, as long as you can control the gossip for yourself, of course.
I suppose.
How can I help?
Did you hear what happened to Saoirse? Can I try to get some information, maybe?
She kind of like glances around and quite conspiratorially leans in towards you, and you must be careful talking too loudly about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. From what I understand, you could be forgiven a few of these things, but you have to be careful about how loudly you speak about this kind of gossip, because you never know who's actually listening and who's been involved, and we want to be quite careful about who overhears us talking about what happened. So, yes, we heard that she was found dismembered and dumped in the canals.
Canals? Wow. That we were just talking to somebody else on the other side, and they were talking about a completely different thing. How wild is that?
Yeah. What were they saying?
They were just saying, yeah,
just
different things. But yours sounds way more like from the source.
She kind of
know people.
Like lifts her head slightly and like almost to peer around you, and she goes, "Which ones were you talking to?"
The one around the corner. They were in the back there. I don't think they knew what they were talking about. I think they were just probably listened a little bit from yours. You know.
Who did you hear? Who did you hear it from?
Oh, good journalist never reveals their sources. And she pulls a compact from her handbag and begins kind of like it. She begins the process of powdering her nose, but in actual fact, you recognize the tactic of a woman looking over her shoulder.
I see. So you're a journalist. Okay, that explains things. That you know certain things, but of course, we don't want to.
Right. Yeah. There's some code. There's some etiquette. What were you researching? What's your latest investigation?
Oh, well, you see, I try to keep myself a little busy with how would you put it? Corralling the kine. They're very excitable, and if you have control of a good tabloid, you can make them believe anything. It's very convenient for making masquerade breaches disappear.
Are you uncomfortable?
Me?
Yes. Kind of looking over your shoulder a little bit.
Oh,
Is there someone?
She was.
Force of habit. She, with a smile, snaps the compact shut and puts it back in her bag.
Oh, that's what you do. I see.
Yeah, you can use it to like look behind you.
I should get one of those. Wow. Right. Yeah. It's just wild everything that's happening with and what they're keeping quiet. Don't know why they're keeping quiet about it.
Too many secrets.
You think they had something to hide?
Speaking of which, I knew by reputation that we were expecting another Four Kindred to be inaugurated into a coterie, but we weren't given your names. Tell me, where are the other two? And she starts like scanning the room again.
How do you know it's us?
Right, yeah.
I wasn't told.
They didn't tell you? This is scandalous. And she sort of subtly reaches into her bag and starts like poking around a notebook in her bag.
Can I use like persuasion or something to try to get her to I don't know, give us more information? She seems really secretive.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Where did she hear this stuff from? I want to kind of distract her from taking notes about what Finn just said.
Okay. Give me your manipulation persuasion, please.
Okay. Manipulation.
3 successes. What is it you say to her?
Gosh. There's no need. There's no need to take notes. This is everything's fine. Who exactly did you hear about Saoirse from? Who exactly did you hear about Saoirse from? I'm just sorry.
She sort of inside the bag, like kind of just takes her hand off the notepad, smiles at you, and with one finger just and turns sort of to her side so that her shoulder is to you, and sort of like as if to speak to the man she stood with.
You've been awfully quiet, sir. Maybe you know something about it that we don't know. I mean, you must be in the know. You guys seem to know all of this stuff.
His expression is stony. He sort of almost seems impatient and also disinterested. His eyes sort of flick up and down you once, Finn, and he sort of says nothing.
I heard it was an inside job, but what do I know? Should we walk away, Em? They seem to know a lot.
I don't know if we're getting anything from these people.
Yeah. So I'll start to walk away after I leave him that little bomb.
Okay.
Good one, Finn.
Let's check in with Bing Bing and see where she has been mingling. Bing Bing, you've headed off into the crowd. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for our local Gangrel and Nosferatu and etc. personalities.
Yeah, the Nosferatu at least are thankfully not hard to spot. Their clan bane makes them at the best somewhat unattractive and at worst downright disfigured. And it isn't long before you see a couple of figures stood in the shadowy corner of the room, talking quietly, one of them with a sort of thin material pulled mostly over their face, obscuring sort of their cheek and jawline. It's only when they sort of like turn to look at the room that you notice severe scarring on one side of their face, it looks like from a distance.
Bing Bing kind of moves towards them and then moves away from them. Just making a note of who's where.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's looking for Dee or Romy in the crowd, but she's not speaking to anyone because she's not very social.
Okay. Let's have a look at what your awareness is like. Your awareness is very good. As you're sort of milling around this room and taking stock of who's present. With your etiquette being at 2 and with the experience that Bing Bing has had in a couple of Elysiums now, she's certainly not a frequent visitor on account of her clan not necessarily being central to the court. But she knows enough to understand the prince's absence means that Elysium proper won't be starting for a little while yet. She also knows enough to know that if, especially in a case of a security risk, the sheriff is probably right by the prince's side. So Romy's lack of, the fact that you can't see Romy is not exactly unprecedented. Dee being off and about, however, is a little more concerning to you. You know from having been with Dee at these Elysiums that she finds them a little uncomfortable, and she does usually like to stay in one place and allow people to come to her. So her having left that table without saying anything to anyone or checked in is definitely unusual.
Can I maybe stop a ghoul or something and be like, have you seen Dee? Maybe she was drinking tea or something like that.
The attendant that you managed to stop is bearing a plate of various things, the sort of like little nibble bits and glasses of drink and that sort of thing. And they
the glasses of drink, are they blood?
A couple of them are, yes, and you do recognize
Bing Bing's gonna
that.
take one and drink one.
Perfect. The attendant's sort of like waiting for you to take this drink and sip before sort of like they watch your expression, and on seeing you sip and look satisfied enough, they almost seem to breathe a sigh of relief. And they look over to the corner that you've pointed to that Dee was in, and oh, yes, the lady drinking tea. I was actually just about to go get her one. She said that she was going to be there, but oh. What do I do with this tea now? Nobody drinks this.
Give it to the blonde woman. She loves eating human food.
Oh. Okay. He sort of like turns to look over the crowd and pointing towards M goes, that one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go see if she wants one. Do you want me to tell your friend you're looking for them if I find her?
No, it's all right. I'm sure she'll find me if she needs me.
Okay. Have a good evening. And he turns and heads towards Emily. What are you looking for next?
I guess I'm looking for anybody that would have... No. I'm just moving around and mingling. Okay. Maybe I'm listening, trying to overhear what people are saying.
Okay.
Give a little terse smile to anybody who meets my eye. Okay.
In that case, let's leave Bing Bing mingling and trying to pick up on conversations, and we'll check in with CT. CT, your first move was to head towards the table where Dee was sat. Is that correct?
Go to the table.
Okay. Anything you are doing or looking for while you're on your way over?
Sense the unseen.
Sense the unseen. Fabulous.
I will have a look at what's going on.
Sense the unseen is passive, isn't it? You don't have to rouse or anything. It's just you can activate it.
I believe so.
You, with Sense the Unseen up, you notice the shadows towards the edge of the room are a little more populated than other people might expect. Give me, please, your wits and auspex.
Yeah.
2 successes. There is a very young-looking Nosferatu stood in the doorway, quite close to you. And as you scan the room and you pick up on this person stood there and lock eyes on them, they kind of almost look startled, and then very quickly kind of you see sort of irritation appear on their face as you lock eyes with them, and they go, "Damn it," and walk off into the crowd. Their practice has clearly not paid any dividends, and their hiding abilities are not quite what they'd hoped they'd be. Besides that, the table itself is pretty empty. The only sign you can see of Dee having been there is an empty teacup. There are sort of dregs of herbal tea sat in the bottom, a couple of green leaves that stick to the side of the cup where it's been sipped at. But as you get closer to the table, you do notice something else. Tucked under the corner of the saucer, something has been placed so that the saucer is actually tilted. It's at a strange angle. And the leaves that are stuck to kind of the edge of the other side are from where the water level has shifted with the weight with the sort of mass of this object having been placed under one side. And as you pull it loose from the cup, just very slightly to see what it is, you see the gold clasp of a delicate watch.
Given the fact that I've seen nearly all of the watches, do I know who this watch belongs to?
You recognize this watch as Saoirse's watch that had been hanging on the hook in the stairwell. And turning, lifting your eyes from the table, you see the very panicked, almost translucent face of Dimitri, waving his arms madly and screaming silently from the doorway at you. And that's where we'll take our 5-minute break.
Oh,